This is part 4 of Uprising, the Resistance and Struggle for Democracy. Let's connect the dots. The Dred Scott decision, Trump's attack on birthright citizenship, and the push for a constitutional convention, they all lead to one outcome: a nation where rights belong to the few and the rest of us are left powerless. History isn't gone. It's being edited, not with a single match, but with 1,000 quiet changes that decide who counts, who belongs, and who can be written out. We've seen this story before. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision told an entire people they could never sit inside the circle of American citizenship. It wasn't just a ruling, it was a map for exclusion. Today, the lines are being redrawn again. The target moves from who is born a citizen to who gets to vote, to who is protected when they speak, read, teach, or worship. The tools are modern, but the message is old. Limit the we in we the people. That's where the MAGA push to change the Constitution enters the frame. On the surface, it is framed as reform, restoring order, or giving power back to the states. But listen closely and you hear the creak of doors closing. A constitutional convention, called under Article 5, doesn't have to stop at one fix. Once opened, the entire document can be placed on the table. Term limits can vanish. Federal protections can be weakened. Voting rights can fracture into 50 different definitions. And birthright citizenship, the simple, stabilizing promise that if you're born here, you belong here, can be chipped away until it's a privilege for the few, not a guarantee for the many. This isn't a theoretical puzzle in a civics classroom. It is a practical blueprint for minority rule. Change the rules at the top and you can shrink the electorate at the bottom. Narrow who becomes a citizen, then narrow who can vote, then redefine what counts as free speech, public education, or equal protection. Add the pressure of book bans, curriculum gag orders, and partisan purges of election officials, and suddenly the field is tilted, not because the people asked for less freedom, but because the rules were rewritten to deliver it. If you want to understand the danger, imagine a constitution edited not to expand freedom but to ration it. Imagine a country where your zip code decides the strength of your ballot, where a library can be punished for the books it carries, where protest is rebranded as disorder, where the press is free in name but sued or silenced in practice, where women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and civil rights return to the bargaining table each election cycle. That is the risk of an open-ended rewrite driven by a movement that has repeatedly shown comfort with disinformation, political retribution, and the erasure of uncomfortable truths. But the story does not end in the firelight. It opens into daylight. Porch lights flicking on across neighborhoods, clipboards tapping at doorways, volunteers matching first-time voters with polling places, elders explaining hard-won rights to the next generation. Power is a habit we practice together. When we learn our history, we become harder to fool. When we organize locally, we become harder to ignore. When we vote in numbers, we become impossible to erase. Here is the through line. From Dred Scott to today, progress has moved when ordinary people refused to be written out. Teachers who kept teaching, librarians who kept lending, pastors, imams, and rabbis who kept welcoming, workers who kept organizing, neighbors who kept knocking. They did not wait for permission. They exercised their rights before someone else could edit them away. So let's connect the dots and act. Read the fine print in your state house and school board agendas. Defend your libraries and your local press. Register, re-register, and bring 2 friends. Learn how Article 5 works and push your representatives, city, county, state, to oppose any convention that puts the entire Constitution at risk. Build multiracial, multi-faith coalitions that hold the line on voting access, accurate history, and equal protection under law. That's not theory. It's a blueprint with our freedoms as the raw material. So join in the resistance to save our democracy. Start where you stand, your block, your school, your church, your union. Remember, your voice matters. Your vote matters. And together, we will make sure the Constitution remains a promise, expanded by the many, not rewritten by the few.